Hey everybody, Brian Von Vier. Today we're going to be talking about something that does happen at tables and hopefully doesn't happen to any of you. DMs that make a ruling that instantly make you walk away from the table. Has this ever happened to you? If so, leave it down in the comments below. But first, we're going to be talking about the sponsor for this video, The Wandering Tavern. Are you looking for something new and exciting to add to your D&D games? Maybe you'd like to try a unique setting for a new campaign. Well, look to the skies, friends, and behold, The Wandering Tavern, a new Studio Ghibli-inspired grungy campaign setting from our friends at Homie and the Dude. Inside this 150-page campaign setting book, you'll find 23 unique locations within The Wandering Tavern, ranging from exotic restaurants, gambling houses, workshops, as well as new magic items, 6 different airships, and a host of interesting NPCs. The Wandering Tavern holds many secrets in its 15 layers, not the least of which are the lingering spirits who come out to play after the sun sets. All told, there are 11 diverse factions within the tavern, each of which has its own motivations and goals. With 30 different plot hooks with which to draw in your players, you'll be easily able to find a start to a new campaign, or hook the Wandering Tavern into your existing campaigns. So come along for the ride and fly over to their Kickstarter at the link in the description below to join us at the Wandering Tavern. Oh boy, let me tell you about a guy named Krakras Duneweaver. Krakras was my favorite character. I remember he was a necromancer that I had spent some considerable time on when I was still settling into the game around March of 2020. I had been chatting with the DM of our friend group, and since I had just gotten Discord to play online, I had to jump into the current campaign at level 5 or so. After spending some time with the DM, discussing backstory and how that would fit into the campaign, we had decided that poor Krakras was dabbling with a 3rd level scroll of Animate Undead. He was equivalent to a level 0 wizard when the scroll exploded, turning his family into zombies and driving him insane. I loved that dude. Well, it took me most of my first session in-game to get introduced to the party, at DM's choice of course, unconscious in a ditch on the side of the road. I ended up going with them because even though it was 5th edition, I was still a bit squishy. We went to this abandoned castle turned goblin lair when we had scheduling issues with this one guy whose name I don't even remember. Now, before I go on, I should describe the party. We had the DM, myself playing the necromancer wizard, Nathaniel playing an elven wizard and elven cleric, both royalty and cookie cute characters of the type he always plays. Edward playing a pyromaniac sorcerer, it's always somebody named Eddie, am I right? And Stabby, the Kenku rogue. Stabby the rogue, I love it. After months barely being able to play because of this guy, this one guy who eventually just left, and about 5 to 10 hours in this dungeon being the whole of my time in the campaign up to this point, the DM had us fight these homebrewed cat, rat, bat things. That's literally how he described it, with carapaces that reflected magic. Now I know this because Nathaniel shot a firebolt at one and took it up his nose. Again, exactly how it was described. What then? Edward decided to cast Fireball. Now, considering that 4 out of my 5 party members were full casters, this was a stupid idea on the DM's part. But I failed my dex save and was instantly downed by the damage, being the only one to do so. I then proceeded to nat 1 my death save, and the DM called that I was instantly dead without a chance to do anything. Regardless of the fact that the DM knew the effort I put into this character in contrast to the ones before it, in spite of the bad encounter and the dumber player decisions, both conscious choices outside of my control, I should be dead and rolling a new character. I left the VC, but later talked to the DM about the feasibility of resurrection and rejoining the party. I settled on being animated as a wraith-like being by the big bad evil guy, and taking a race change, and a few levels in Warlock to show that. 2 to 3 sessions later, I show up, and then not again. By the time I cave and finally roll up a new character, the campaign is dead, and I get maybe 15 minutes of playtime being pushed around by existing lore about some racial civil war. Now flash forward to today, and I do not play D&D with those people anymore. I ended up being a DM of my own party, though I occasionally talk to DM and Stabby. Stabby was always the best player in the group, and Edward is no longer my friend. He not only killed off my favorite character, but ruined my first campaign DMing by becoming the big bad evil guy and an oil tycoon. Oh, I remember DMing a game way back in my high school days. 2nd edition, by the way. We had invited a couple of new players into our group who were, if I remember correctly, a year younger than us. They each had characters from previous games, which I must not have thought were unbalanced because, well, I allowed them to play with us. Very first encounter with a high-level NPC, and one of these guys, playing a cleric, casts Purify Food and Water on him. Okay, he isn't carrying any food, but his sweat is suddenly very clean? I was genuinely puzzled. What did he expect? It turns out they expected this NPC to die instantly. They expected this spell would turn his blood into water, and being water, would no longer carry nutrients and oxygen, and the NPC would die. I read the spell description carefully and ruled, oh, no way. The spell is clearly intended to turn nasty water into pure drinkable water, not be a first level power word kill. So, after I made my ruling, they conferred with each other, then got up and left our table. I can't say I missed them as players, but I have sometimes wondered what their games were like. What other kind of rules did they play with? I was once invited to join a Pathfinder gaming group mid-story. There had been some recent reshuffling, and one of the previous players was now going to DM. I spent time and built an Arcanist to help fill out what the party needed. On my first session, I was still getting the hang of the group and was kind of quiet, as I had just met a few of them for the first time. Well, the DM doesn't like players who are too quiet. He decided, for me, that while wandering around the town, I ended up stomping all over someone's garden. Well, the old couple's response was to start attacking with their garden tools. I would like to note that at this point, as a player, I've only said, I'm going to look around town, and apologized for stepping on the flowers. That's it. Everything else was forced on me by the DM. At first, I tried to stop them peacefully by taking their weapons away, but being a caster, I didn't have high AC or HP. Once I saw I couldn't peacefully stop them from trying to kill me, I cast Burning Hands, which was the lowest level attack spell I had. Well, it killed one and hurt the other. Their response? Call the town guards. At this point, the paladin in the party joined the town guard to hunt me down. I decided to get out of there. I cast Fly and started to fly away, so the DM decided to stop me by bringing in his own previous character, which was the same level as I was. He shot an arrow dipped with a sleeping poison. He hit me, and I failed my save. So I fell from over 100 feet in the air, and that ended my character. I chose to not return for this next session. Almost. I first got into playing 5th edition with a group of co-workers, with our supervisor being the FM. Now, he's a cool guy, a little bit tough on consequences, mind you, but not someone who goes out of their way to f the players over. So we're probably on our 2nd or 3rd session when a new guy joins the club, a veteran D&D player from way back in 2nd edition. Well, he rolls a drow. This was met with some typical in-character deliberating about whether we want a fucking drow in our ranks, but eventually we relent because he seemed innocent enough. That is, until the drow guy starts attacking other PCs unprovoked. There was little to no in-game justification to do so. It was purely a metagame. Ha ha ha, let's see what the team does when I fuck with them type of move. And the DM allowed this fuckery because he didn't see anything wrong. After all, we let a drow on the team and they aren't known for being reliable or whatever. The only reason I didn't get up is because I didn't want to be dramatic and risk pissing off the supervisor. But needless to say, I didn't come back. Yep, When I was younger, in my later teens, I was invited to play a Star Wars RPG with a group of my older brother's friends, only a year older, mind you. We played for half a year, accumulating equipment and contacts, etc. It was a lot of fun. Then suddenly, I'm told the enemy is targeting my command ship, which is nothing special about it, with all of their collective fleet firepower during a fleet-on-fleet battle to destroy it with me on it. Well, I was pissed off, but accepted that it happened and that I'd have to start over with a new character. At the time, I rationalized with myself that we had gotten really powerful, and maybe he was planning on killing us off one by one and doing a staggered party reset. With that in mind, I rolled up a Wookiee bounty hunter. The rest of the party arrived on my planet of residence in the city I'd been living in for 20 plus years, and suddenly, it switched to me. As I was making my way around town, walking fast, faces pass, and you're homebound, I told the GM that I wanted to stop into one of the local bars my character knew and was known in, and see if I could get some information. The GM, without rolling a die, stated that I somehow decided to randomly walk into the only anti-alien bar in the entire city full of angry stormtroopers and then decided to instantly open fire on me because aliens? At this point, I asked to stop the game for a moment and asked the GM if this was an unknown anti-alien bar that I somehow didn't realize had hours of operation that prohibited aliens. He said no, it was a well-known alien hater hangout all the time. I stood up, gathered my things, and left. Remember that this was the city that my character had been living in for the past 20 years, if not more, and knew like the back of my hairy hands. There was no way that he didn't know about this particular bar, or that when I went looking for a familiar bar in which I was known and could get information from, that I'd randomly walk into that bar. It was obvious to me that the GM was somehow getting his rocks off by killing my characters off, so I wasn't going to keep playing this game. Sometimes your character dies, and I get that that happens. Even as a teenager, I could accept that and try to move on. But deliberately targeting my character to be killed repeatedly? Not enjoyable in any way, shape, or form. Sometimes a DM or GM is just being an asshole, so stand up and walk out. They won't get any better. This is from the first D&D group I ever played in, from which I have an actually countless number of horror stories, but also a lifelong friend, so I figure I came out ahead. Now, did I actually walk away from the table after this? No, but it festered, and when I eventually did decide to leave, despite it being for out-of-character interpersonal reasons, this moment stuck with me. It's the reason that, despite missing my character, I don't miss that damn game a bit. Let me set the table. Control freak DM. In love with her own world building to a point that the players are pawns on her chessboard. Oh, that's right, baby. All aboard, toot toot, we're railroading today, boys! The party was collecting a series of magic MacGuffins made by Goddess A to prevent Big Bad Evil Guy B. Simple, right? We were special for reasons that were, well, never revealed. Actually, it was really just implied. Anyhow, Goddess A just so happened to have a demigod son who sailed the seas, doing good, routing evil, and so on. He was incredibly powerful, to the point that I asked him in character why he wasn't collecting the magic MacGuffins himself, since they were so important to him and his mother. The DM clearly didn't have an answer, so vague prophecy was all I got in return. Anyhow, fast forward to a boss battle, and we're getting our asses kicked. I'm a frail elven wizard, and despite doing some real massive damage to the ghost woman, Okiska, I'm one-tapped, down for the count. I roll 2 nat 1s on my death save. Yeah. Now I'm some sort of sick masochist because I love when my characters die. Anytime, anywhere, I've always found the thrill of total defeat to be the only real reason the journey has any meaning. I blame Boromir. We love you, Boromir. Anyway, I'm clearly dead. This is not the end of the world in 5th edition. Revivify is only 3rd level, which we're far past at this point, by the way. I can easily be revived. Beyond this, it's later revealed that the boss is, get this, a scripted TPK. We're all supposed to go down, blackout, and come to in prison or some such shit. Now, this didn't even happen because our ASMR barbarian had, oh god, Lamau, Azure Edge, and Black Razor. My DM was not very good at game balance at all. She ends up going 1v1 with the boss and winning later on, which makes what happened to me 3 layers of unfathomably stupid. Her DM NPC, the demigod, astral projects his ass into the boss arena and revives me, then does a huge dose of damage to the boss. Why did this happen? My death was robbed from me. Even if I would have been revived with no issue, the roleplay potential was huge. Why did he attack the boss? Wasn't she supposed to win? Why did any of this happen? I was expressing excitement at the notion of my character dying, so maybe the DM got nervous, I don't know. Genuinely bizarre. Did I mention that the DM made the ERP she did with her character in Private DM's canon to the campaign? Did I mention, by the way, I was 16 at the time? God, what a dumpster fire. Good riddance. Hey everybody, Brian Von VA checking in after the vid. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, ring that bell, and of course, leave a comment down below letting us know if a DM has ever made a ruling, or just justified some crappy behavior that made you walk away from the table. We love you all. Please, please be safe out there, and learn that you can always find a better group. See you next time. Bye for now.